Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Chapter 4. This is video 3, and in this video, we are going to talk about sleep. Sleep needs vary depending if the child is in the infancy stage or if they're in the early childhood stage of development. When a child is an infant or when they are newborns, they tend to sleep a lot. Newborns can sleep up to around 17 hours a day. It doesn't have to be consistent. It can be off and on, but the job of newborns basically is to sleep. And around the age of 6 months, that is where infants move closer to adult like sleep patterns. So they start to begin to be able to sleep throughout the night and be up throughout the day. Of course, they may have naps in the day, but they're able to have more of a regulated schedule that's similar to adults. And during early childhood, the amount of sleep is still a lot, and it's recommended from pediatricians that children that are from anywhere from like 2 to 6 years old, that they get anywhere from 11 to 14 hours of sleep. So as you can see, during early childhood, children still need a lot of sleep. And also there are issues during early childhood. More than 40% of children have sleep problems. And sleep problems can include night terrors. It can include wetting the bed. All of those would disturb a child from sleeping. And so when we're talking about sleep, we talked about the time of sleep and how long children need to sleep. But now, next, we're going to talk about how children sleep and the environment that they sleep. Mainly, do they sleep by themselves in a crib or in their own bed, or do they sleep with a parent? We're going to talk about that in the next slide. So there are cultural variations in infant sleeping arrangements. During the first chapter of the book, we talked about how culture plays a role in children's development and children's environment. The parental influences are influenced heavily by the culture. And so the norm in the United States is that children sleep in their own bed or their own crib. And a lot of times, if parents decide to have the child sleep in their bed or sleep in the bed with them alongside the parent, it boils down to cultural variation of collectivism versus individualism. And so when you talk about collectivism, that is mainly focusing on you do not look at yourself as me, myself, and I. You put the needs of the group that you are in, whether that's your family or the culture that you are in, you put those needs ahead of your own needs. Compared to individualism, it's more about me, myself, and I, making sure that you are able to do what's best for you, not really caring too much about what other people need, but mainly focusing on what you need. And so when we have cultural variation in infant sleeping arrangements, cultures that are more collectivist, that more are coming from the communalism side of culture, they tend to sleep. The moms and dads, or moms and moms, or dads and dads, tend to sleep with their child. But as I stated, the United States is more of the United States is more of individualistic society, and because of that, people in the United States tend to have their child sleep in the child's own bed or their own crib. There are benefits to parent and infant co-sleeping. Obviously, the benefit would be more sleep. So the parent is able to have not only the parent but the child is able to get more sleep, and the infants are able to, there are not as many sleep disturbances from the infant because the infant is usually able to smell or sense that their parents are near, so they're able to sleep better. And it also positively impacts parent infant interactions. So we talk about sleeping, and we talked about with parents, and either with parents or by the child self in their own crib. So now we're going to talk about the positioning of sleeping. And I made this TikTok for you all to get you all to think about the position of sleeping on the back or on the side. And we'll talk about why you should do one or the other. So let's dive into this.
I had the baby. And here's the baby. But shh, Sterling Jr. is sleeping. Do you all know why Sterling is sleeping on his back and not on his stomach?
So that's the question for you all. Do you know why Sterling Jr. is sleeping on his back and not his stomach? We're going to get into that.
I had the baby.
What is the positioning of the baby is directly influenced, SIDS is directly influenced by the positioning of the baby. So what is SIDS? SIDS is sudden infant death syndrome. And what happens is that the baby usually is around younger than 1 year of age, and they just pass away during their sleep. And there is no specific known cause, but there are some correlations between sleeping on the back or sleeping on the stomach, and correlations between infants passing away from sudden infant death syndrome. The risk for SIDS is highest at 2 to 4 months of age, which is very important. So really, the younger that children are anywhere between 2 to 4 months, that's where they are at the highest risk of passing away from SIDS. And the possible solution is the answer to the question that I asked you all. Sterling Jr. is sleeping on his back because that helps. Sleeping on your back is correlated with decrease in the number of children that pass away from SIDS. So the American Pediatric Association, to my understanding, since 1992, has recommended that children sleep on their stomachs. Obviously, it's up to the parents, but this is just something that the pediatricians recommend, is for a child to sleep on their back, and that would help to decrease the sudden infant death syndrome. There are risk factors of SIDS. Like I said, if you sleep on your stomach instead of sleeping on your back, that could be a risk factor. Infants who sleep in soft bedding, so the bedding for infants needs to be pretty hard, and also those that are African American and those that are Eskimo, if they have that descent, their children are, most like more than likely to pass away of SIDS compared to children or infants of European descent. Okay, I'm going to see you all on the next video.